Green sea turtles, like these in the eastern Pacific, photographed in the Galapagos Islands, are marine. Their legs have been modified to form flippers, and the primary components of their diet are aquatic vegetation such as green algae and sea grasses. However, they need to come onto land in order to lay their eggs. And so females will crawl onto land and then excavate burrows. Now, in these images, it may look as if the depressions are where the eggs would be in a nest, and it's actually the opposite. The female moved sand from the area which is now depressed to then push the sand over the eggs, so the eggs are actually in the elevated portion, not the depressed portion. And in these videos, you can observe the trackways where overnight a female green sea turtle crawled onto land on a beach in the Galapagos Islands, laid her eggs, and then crawled back to sea. Only green sea turtles nest in the beaches of the Galapagos Islands. So while there may be other sea turtles observed here, such as hawksbill turtles, only the green sea turtles nest here. There are certainly a variety of predators which can prey on the nests and eggs of sea turtles, and especially the young shortly after they hatch, which is why most will hatch at night to avoid many of these predators. But climate change also poses a threat. As climate change increases the risk of severe storms, this would potentially disrupt the nesting beaches that sea turtles will return to. Sea turtles return to the beaches where they hatched in order to reproduce themselves. But also, climate change is raising global temperature, and temperature has an interesting relationship with the development of most reptiles. Biologically speaking, there is not one single way to instruct an embryo to develop in a female-specific pattern or a male-specific pattern, and different groups of organisms may have evolved different mechanisms to arrive at this goal. While we are most familiar with a difference in sex chromosomes starting this process off, as is the case in mammals, in birds, in butterflies, and some other groups, in reptiles it is more interesting. While all snakes, many lizards, and a few turtles do utilize sex chromosomes, the other groups of reptiles depend upon the temperature of their nest. So, for example, there may be one species of reptile where all of the warmer eggs will hatch as females and all of the cooler eggs develop as males. Or in some other species where the two extreme temperatures, very cold and very warm, develop as females and the middle group develop as males. This is what is known as temperature-dependent sex determination. And once again, this is how sea turtles and many other reptiles determine gender. So if you were to take a group of sea turtle eggs and between, say, days 20 and 50 of their development, split them up and cool half of them and warm the other half, one half, the warmer half, would hatch as females, and one half, the cooler half, would hatch as males. How does the biology of this process work? Well, at this point, it is not completely known, and perhaps it would be too simplistic to suggest that temperature-dependent sex determination in lizards, alligators, and in turtles would all work exactly the same, given that these groups separated from each other over millions of years. So there may be some nuances and differences between temperature-dependent sex determination in the two groups. It is known that there would be some sort of signal which connects external temperature and the abundance of some signaling factor inside cells. And, as would probably be expected, this then affects the activity of an enzyme known as aromatase. Just a little bit of background. Testosterone is not a male hormone, and estrogen is not a female hormone. Both males and females possess both of these hormones, whether this be turtles or humans. However, the relative amounts can then cause cells to develop along one developmental pathway or another. And it is actually from testosterone that estrogen is made. So, in order to make estrogen, one must first make testosterone and then use the enzyme aromatase to perform the last chemical change, which converts it into estradiol, the major estrogen. And it seems that the temperature dependent switch that is present in reptile embryos then alters the activity levels of this aromatase enzyme. And so, thus, at one temperature, more testosterone would be present, and at another temperature, more estrogen would be present, and this would then determine the developmental gender of the reptile embryos. What will be the effect of climate change if global temperatures change and the incidence of extreme temperatures change? The reality is, at this point, we don't know, but there are so many species of reptile which are becoming threatened, endangered, and critically endangered for a whole host of reasons, adding an additional stress that the temperature which influences developmental mechanisms in reptile embryos is shifting. It may be difficult for specific species to adapt to shifting environmental conditions, given that they are already facing so many other challenges.